Hey guys, Kyle from YWT here, back with another Flyers post-game recap. It's been a while. We had a long time here. We had a couple of COVID cases, we had a couple confirmed cases, a couple of tracing type deals, and we had about 10 days between games. And we come back with a game that ends in favor of the New York Rangers by a score of 3-2. The theme of this game really is about managing expectations. So in case you somehow missed it, the Flyers had a large number on the COVID protocol list over the last couple of weeks. 7 guys ended up being on that list. And not only was that 7 guys, that was most of your top 6. And those guys, because of the nature of the protocols and, the way things work, most of those guys were not available tonight. So this game did not include Claude Giroux. This game did not include Jacob Voracek, Travis Konechny, Oscar Lindblom, among others. So you're already looking at this and you're managing expectations, right? You don't have your top guns. You still have Sean Couturier, you still have Kevin Hayes, you still have Joel Farabee. We'll talk about them as we kind of get through things here. But you don't have your big guns. You don't have your leadership. You don't have your whole team, right? There's your offense right there. That's half your forward core, and that's the more important half your forward core. So we already came in with expectations tempered a little bit. Coming into this game, we're also talking about a 10-day layoff where the team didn't practice until I think Tuesday or Wednesday for a Thursday game. But before that, the facility had been closed, no contact, no blah blah blah. I don't know if players were allowed to skate on their own. I don't know. I imagine players were in some capacity, but either way, you're not having those team practices. You're not in the facility every day. You get out of the flow of the season, and it's really tough to bounce back from that. And we've talked a lot on the show about the Rangers being kind of an up-and-coming team, and yeah, they've had their tribulations over the last couple of weeks, shall we say, but they're still not a bad squad, and you're coming in, and yeah, they're sitting low in the standings, but this team can easily come in and beat you. And tonight we saw not really an NHL roster get beaten by the New York Rangers. And if it wasn't for a late Joel Farabee goal, this loss would have been taken in regulation. Thankfully, the Flyers actually did a really good job. Honestly, the Flyers played a really good game. Right? We talked about managing expectations and the fact that you didn't necessarily have the most talent in the lineup tonight. But there was really a lot of fantastic effort tonight. These guys who are kind of on the fringe, who may not be in the lineup every night, who may be fighting for a job, a lot of those guys showed up and played really, really strong games. I have never, ever been a fan of Andy Andrioff. Whenever I've seen him in preseason or at any level, I have never been a fan of his game. And Andy Andrioff played a really good game tonight. Again, considering keeping expectations managed, Andy Andrioff, he was a physical presence. He was involved in the game. He was defending some teammates. He was noticeable, and I thought that he genuinely contributed to the offense in a way that I was not expecting Andy Andrioff to contribute when I heard that he made the lineup tonight. Sam Moran was back in the lineup after being sent to Lehigh Valley a couple of weeks ago to start the season with the Phantoms down there. He looked fine, sheltered minutes, kind of bottom 6 role, kind of what we saw out of him the first time. He's only there because of the gaping holes in the lineup, and I imagine he'll be back in Lehigh Valley before terribly long. But again, he looked fine while he was up here. Andrioff looked really solid. Maxim Sushko made his NHL debut tonight, and this isn't 100% fact, but we did a little bit of fact checking. According to Kevin, he was the first Belarusian player to suit up for the Philadelphia Flyers in an NHL game. So Congratulations to Maxim Sushko and the country of Belarus, I suppose. Just something to mention. But either way, he looked fine. He didn't play a terrible amount. I'm looking here. Maxim Sushko played just a hair under 6 minutes, according to the NHL. Didn't see the ice in overtime. There's a penalty in overtime. We'll talk about the penalties in a minute. He didn't play a terribly long time, but the kid looked like you would expect a kid making his NHL debut to look, and good for him. A lot of his ice time went to kind of those top six guys. Sean Couturier played more than 23 and a half minutes. Kevin Hayes played more than 22 minutes. Michael Raffl played more than 20 minutes, and Michael Raffl had probably his best game of the season, maybe his best game in quite a while. Michael Raffl had a really solid game. And I know there was a game earlier this year where he scored a couple of goals, and I was ranting and raving on the podcast. That game was flashier. This game might have been a better game. Just overall, front to back. Michael Raffl showed why he rode shotgun with Claude Giroux and Jake Voracek on the top line a couple years ago. I know that was a poor team, and I know why he's not there anymore, and I think he knows why he's not there anymore. But Michael Raffl showed that when he gets a chance in the top six, he can play with good players. He's good in the bottom six. He's good filling that role himself. He's good being the guy who's kind of holding a line together defensively. But if you put him in the top six, he can make some things happen, and he showed some of that tonight. And I really like that out of Michael Raffl. It's one of my favorite things about him as a player is that you can really put him anywhere in your lineup, and he's going to be dangerous. And he definitely showed that tonight. And that's good to see because, again, as these guys kind of come off the list, and we're hoping that all these guys, or at least most of these 7 guys on the COVID list, are off in time for Sunday's game in Lake Tahoe. But if they're not, and if Michael Raffl ends up in your top 6, he's going to do his best. It may not be the best, but it will always be his best. He played really well tonight. James Van Riemsdyk had another strong game. He's having a fantastic season. Joel Farabee played more than 21 minutes. He had Alain Vigneault had no problem leaning on Joel Farabee at this point and proved that he's a vet and he's in the lineup. You know, when things get a little skinny, time to step up, kid. You're playing a lot tonight. And Joel Farabee did, and he played really well. He, almost 6 minutes on the power play, second most among forwards behind only James Van Riemsdyk. Almost 2 minutes shorthanded. Joel Farabee saw a lot of ice tonight, and he saw it in all situations, and he looked pretty good, and he rewarded Alain Vigneault for believing in him and putting him on the ice all this time by scoring the game-winning goal. And that was a pure effort play, by the way. Let's get to the goals. Let's do back out of the ice time here real quick. We'll run it down. I really do despise the NHL app. It's awful. So this game started out with the Flyers jumping out to an early lead. This game started, less than a minute into the game. Nicholas Aube-Kubel jams one in. Beautiful play. Start strong. We manage expectations. We were coming in a little, okay, let's see what we got here. There's no Claude Giroux. There's no Jacob Voracek. Let's see who's going to generate the offense tonight. And right away, Nicholas Aube-Kubel and Kevin Hayes stepped up and said, we got this. And your first goal goes in from Michael Raffl and Kevin Hayes. Boom. There it is, guys. I've been talking about the whole video. Michael Raffl, Nicholas Aube-Kubel, guys who have stepped up, guys who aren't normally in these roles. I can't tell you the last time Nicholas Aube-Kubel was on the ice in the first minute of a game. But here he is, not only in the game, but scoring a goal. Immediately, Alain Vigneault rewarded. After that, kind of just a shutdown first period, back and forth. Rangers had a lot of chances. The Flyers, it turns out it doesn't matter who's in the lineup. The Flyers still don't like to shoot. Shot totals were very, very low tonight. Flyers only ended up with 22, as it says on NHL.com right now. somebody's got to let the puck go, but this isn't really the time to address that. Again, we're talking about a little bit of a skeleton crew up front. Defensively, I think the Flyers played pretty well tonight, kept a lot of the Rangers' chances fairly low danger. Carter Hart played really well tonight, stepped up when he had to, made some really big saves when the chances were good out of the New York Rangers. When the defense did break down, although it really didn't happen too much. But we had a power play goal from Blackwell. It was a tip in. Nothing Carter Hart can do about that. Brendan Smith goal was just a defensive breakdown in front of him. Poor rebound control by Hart. Admittedly, he kicked it out to the corner right where. Okay, poor rebound control. Maybe he should have that. But beyond that, that was also just a really, really good play by one of the better players in the league, Artemi Panarin. And you'd like to see better rebound control out of Hart, but at a certain point, there's nothing you can do. So you can throw that one in on him if you want. You don't have to. And then at that point, it's a 2-2 game. You take it to the overtime. Joel Farabee jams it in from the crease in a really nice little post-game scrum. Or not post-game scrum, I'm sorry. Late game scramble. Carter Hart came out. You had the extra attacker. You did a really good job of establishing presence. The Rangers sagged back, and the Flyers managed to convert. And you tied the game late. Unfortunately, you took a penalty in overtime that gave the Rangers a chance that really dominated most of the overtime period with about 2.5 minutes left. It's just kind of one of those things that happens. Nolan Patrick had to take the penalty. It's certainly not a bad penalty for him to have taken in the circumstances. I believe it was Pavel Buchnevich coming in, and he's just a very dangerous player. And if you don't stop him there, he's probably scoring and you lose the game on the spot. Your penalty kill had been pretty good. Nolan Patrick put him on the ice and they killed it off, and you got through the overtime period. But you got to the shootout, and I've made my feelings on the shootout very clear. I don't like it. It's a skills competition. I don't think it should decide games, but I understand it's the reality that we live in. And well, the Flyers lost a shootout. But again, this is hopefully the thinnest this roster looks for the rest of the season for any reason, but especially due to COVID-related reasons. There are currently 7 names on the list. And as we move forward, we're hoping that number goes lower, and hopefully these guys are back in time to play on Sunday, because I don't care how good the effort was. If the talent that shows up tonight shows up to play the Boston Bruins on Sunday, it's probably not going to be a very fun time. That being said, you got a point out of it tonight, and that's really about the best you can hope for, given the way everything played out tonight. Make sure to follow us on Twitter for your team updates, and follow the show here at YWT Podcast on YouTube. We're brought to you by sportstalkphilly.com. You can find the show there. You can find our videos on our YouTube channel. You can find our podcast on our YouTube channel, as well as everywhere else you can find podcasts, including sportstalkphilly.com. Until then, Sunday. Sunday's a big day. I will not be here for a post-game video, but that's only because Kevin and I will be coming on with the podcast fairly quickly after the game. We're going to be recording the podcast live or semi-live. We don't know exactly what's going on. We'll figure it out, but make sure to follow the Twitter at YWT Podcast for more. Kevin will have a pregame video, so that'll be our next piece of content. Till then, see you later.